Welcome to this very special presentation. Northumberland 89.7 proudly presents Northumberland Players, Miracle on 34th Street. This recording was done within the Fire Hall Theater in front of a live audience. It is a radio play, so what else should we do but record it for radio? I'd like to take you to meet our director and producer. I recorded this just a few minutes before they raced off to get ready for the show. I'm sitting here with our producer and the lovely director of Miracle on 34th Street, David Hoare, Heather Joplin, and I want to ask you a couple questions about the show.
Sure thing.
First of all, why this show? It's been done before. Heather?
This show is being done again because it's my favorite show. And basically, because I've done it once before, it's pretty much a no-brainer. It's easy enough to mount again, or so I thought, when in actuality, it is just about the same amount of work, apart from figuring out the sound cues. Yeah.
And it's pretty darn charming.
Yes. It's it's one of the best holiday stories out there, so that's why we're doing it again.
And it's fabulous that it's radio, because radio is going to work for this show very well.
Absolutely.
As a director, what did you find challenging with the show?
Challenging with the show right off the top is just figuring out how many bodies we actually need to have on stage, how few people we can use, and how many we can use while we're still making it interesting for the audience to watch, as well as for the actors to perform. We were in a wonderful position this year of having many people audition for this show. Unfortunately, I could not take everyone, so that made it a little bit difficult, because it's no fun if you only have 3 lines in the entire show. So it's much more interesting for the actors to be playing 5 different roles, and much more interesting for the audience to watch them play 5 different roles.
Yeah, we are not going to see that, of course, on radio, but I do know the number of your characters do play different roles, which is great fun for them, because they change their personalities, their voices. You're not really using costumes, but there are things that identify them. David, as producer, what is a producer in a volunteered show, or this type of show?
The producer, at least is sort of nominally, supposed to make the job easier for the director and make sure that everything goes smoothly. Us being married, that becomes extra important. The producer's job is to deal with logistics, to make sure that the people are in the right place at the right time, and that doors are open and people are, supplies are purchased and everything is sort of arranged. That's our job as a support.
So then you have the producer, which is the supporter, the director that crafts the show together, and then you have several other craftspeople that come into the show. You had.
Well, in theory, generally you do. In our case, because we work well together, and
this is a small enough production that we haven't had to rely too heavily on. Many of the Players productions have, indeed, dozens of set people and lighting people and costume people behind the scenes. Because this is so sort of small and intimate, we've been able to just sort of run it between the cast and ourselves, and then a few, of course, the amazing sort of Fire Hall staff, and then the Northumberland Players admin team has been very good.
as well as Lynn McCall and
the costume house.
Sorry, Lynn Templar and the costume house, as well as Jenny, who looks after the props. Jenny Ryan, who looks after. Right. Yeah, so we've relied upon them heavily for this show, and particularly because it is a pretty prop heavy show. Mm-hmm. That being said, because David is a tech, has worked very heavily in tech, we utilize his skills for the sound and lighting that way, so we don't have to use other people generally.
Right. Well, and our cast has leapt in, right? They've crafted stuff. They've made their own stuff. They've brought in their own stuff. They've helped hang the lights. It really is a small-town community production. It's great. Everybody chips in.
It is. And Small Town Radio is part of that name, which is great that you've actually taken on Small Town Radio, or Northumberland 89.7 as we're now called. But I know that in the show we're called Small Town Radio, which is still perfect. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I really enjoyed about the show is, and I want you to tell me a little bit about it, is there are commercials. This show will be we will break for our commercials, real commercials, but part of this show you have sponsors and you've built commercials for them. Tell me how that process went.
Well, we actually have one sponsor that we had 3 years ago as well, Tug's Furniture Gallery, and at that time I wrote a jingle for them, which we are using again this year. For one of the other radio plays for It's a Wonderful Life, Leclerc's Butcher Shop also was a sponsor there, and Christine Sharp wrote the jingle for that. We are utilizing that again. Okay. And then we had Pine Ridge Nursery and Garden Center, and I thought, I can't possibly imagine spending more time writing another jingle at this point. So we used A Christmas Carol, and we used Deck the Halls with Boughs of Holly. We were going to use O Christmas Tree, but melodically it's kind of hard to jazz that up so it sounds like it's being sung like it's in the 40s. So we went with Deck the Halls, and that seems to be working pretty well so far.
Lots of audience participation.
Yes.
But the sponsors are important. They promote all the plays throughout the season. So we have season-wide sponsors for the players, and then there are individual show sponsors that come on board, like we just mentioned, for the individual productions. And they help keep all the players' shows rolling.
Just like a true producer.
Yes.
I noticed that you had a wide range of cast, both in characters, what they did, but also in age.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So
yes,
too.
well, yes, because we're very blessed to have such a wealth of talent within the Northumberland County region, and we have people who actually haven't performed. There are some people who are coming back to theater after a large gap. Kate Ellis, I believe, has not done anything in 10 years. And Don Mann, I think it's closer to 20 years that he's done something with the Players. So that's a huge gap. We also have brand new to theater. Maddie Tost is playing one of our Susan Walkers, the young girl in the play, and Vivian Worley, who is 10, was playing the other Susan Walker in the play. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's a good spread between. And how much cast did you end up with?
Do we have 11? Yeah. I think we've got 11 in total. 10,
and do you
11,
know offhand approximately how many parts?
There are,
upwards of 30.
Yeah, I think upwards of 30 parts in the, because there are sometimes just single line parts and then recurring roles. So we've got generally people play at least 3 unless they have a lead. And then the leads basically just do the one role. We wanted to make sure that they could focus emotionally and
four
dramatically.
Of those characters, if I'm not mistaken, that stick to the one role, and everybody else juggles everybody else. It's really exciting.
One thing that you have done, which is very true to old-fashioned radio out of the 40s, because I think your show takes place in the 40s.
Yeah, 1947.
Is that you have a Foley person, and for those who don't know what a Foley person is, in the radio world, sound effects were created in real time using, well, I'll let you describe what because I'm sitting here right beside the Foley table.
Yes, we have a large table with all kinds of odds and ends on it. We've got the typewriter, a miniature door, a set of shoes, a telephone, and various other objects that Oliver uses, our Foley person uses to create the sound effects live and in front of the live studio audience, just like it was done in the day.
So if within the script they're looking at a newspaper, you'll hear the rattle of a newspaper. If somebody's supposed to be sweeping the floor, you'll hear a broom across the floor, and those Foley cues in combination with the incidental music cues in between scenes really make the difference, I think, in bringing the story alive.
So is there anyone in particular we should mention other than that's not within your cast?
I think for sure that Jack Boyasian, who is the artistic director of the Northumberland Players, deserves great praise. He has gone above and beyond and does not only for our show, but I think for every show within the Players season. And he's made sure that we had programs printed if we were crazy busy in our own lives to do that, and stocking the concessions and making sure that we had these carpets here.
That's right. As the AD above the producer, he's just making sure that all the gaps that I miss, he catches, and he's just been doing an amazing job at everything there. It's really great.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank you very much for taking the time to join me.
That was our director, Heather Jopling, and our producer, David Hoare, on some of the background to the play. Hey, can you hear the music? This is part of the show where we learned how to behave as an audience, how to clap, how to sing, and how to participate in a radio play. Let's join them as we hear Miracle on 34th, presented by Northumberland 89.7
and Northumberland Players.
Northumberland 89.7, truly local radio. Tug's Furniture Gallery, Leclerc's Butcher Shop and Pine Ridge Nursery and Garden Centre welcome you to the Fire Hall Theatre.
One, two, three.
Tug's Furniture Gallery. So much more than furniture is what you'll see. Tug's Furniture Gallery offers gifts and accessories, things you wouldn't think you'd see there. Tug's will help you find your perfect chair. Beds and tables and recliners too. Art for walls, they'll wait for you. Tug's Furniture Gallery is the best. Located in the heart of downtown Coburg at 86 King Street West, Tug's Furniture Gallery has something for every home. You'll always find something unexpectedly perfect at Tug's Furniture Gallery.
Greetings from Coburg, ladies and gentlemen. This is Pat Crimmins.
And Anne-Marie Boutiette.
Anne-Marie, do you have a favourite book that really warms your heart?
Oh yes, Pat. I read The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe at least once a year.
The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe? You mean the novel by C.S. Lewis?
That's the one, Pat.
Anne-Marie, did you know that The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe is Northumberland Players' children's winter play and that it opened on December the 12th?
Goodness, Pat, I didn't know that. What a lovely story to turn into a play.
This new dramatisation of C.S. Lewis's classic, set in the land of Narnia, faithfully recreates the magic and mystery of Aslan, the great lion, his struggle with the White Witch, and the adventures of 4 children who inadvertently wander from an old wardrobe into the exciting, never-to-be-forgotten Narnia. The intense action features chases, duels and escapes as the witch is determined to keep Narnia in her possession and to end the reign of Aslan. This show is perfect for the Christmas season for the entire family.
It sounds like this would be a perfect family play.
Doesn't it, Anne-Marie? This delightful play will have 2 public matinees on December the 15th. And remember, there is nothing quite like the gift of live theatre. Ladies and gentlemen, our Christmas present to you is the new Christmas classic of our time, based on the story of Valentine Davis and the recent 20th century picture. Miracle on 34th Street is wrapped in a covering of laughter, tied with a bright ribbon of holiday humour and decorated with a special cast of actors. This is a wonderful story for the whole family. Isn't that right, Anne-Marie?
That's right, Pat.
Perhaps some families may be gathered around the Christmas tree as they listen. Others will be putting up this happy sign of the season in a few days, with lights and ornaments and holiday cheer. And now, sponsored by Tug's Furniture Gallery, Leclerc's Butcher Shop, Pine Ridge Nursery and Garden Centre, it's curtain time for the play that proves there is a Santa Claus. Miracle on 34th Street. It's Thanksgiving Day in New York City. On a broad avenue adjoining Central Park, an annual event is being joyfully awaited. The spectacular parade presented by Macy's department store to herald in the Christmas season. We watch as Kris Kringle approaches Macy's Santa Claus, who is practicing with his whip.
I beg your pardon, sir. You seem to have gotten mixed up with this whip of yours. Allow me, will you? Thank you. See, it's quite simple, really. It's all in the wrist.
Is that so?
Yes, of course, if you follow through. It's just like throwing a ball. If you were to, You've been drinking.
Well, it's cold. A man's got to do something to keep warm.
Oh, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. Don't you realize that there are thousands of children lining the streets waiting to see you? Children who have been dreaming of this moment for weeks. You're a disgrace to the tradition of Christmas, and I refuse to have you malign me in such a fashion. It's disgusting. I beg your pardon, young lady. Who's in charge here?
Oh, Mrs. Walker! There she is, down there!
Thank you. Mrs. Walker, one of the men in your parade...
What are you doing out of costume? Get back and get dressed. Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I thought you were a Santa Claus.
Well, your Santa Claus is intoxicated.
Oh, no.
Yes, it's disgraceful. How can you allow a man to get into such a position?
Jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle.
Stop that! What do you mean by drinking? You know it's not allowed.
Man's got to do something to keep warm.
Oh, I ought to warm you. You ought to take this cane and...
Wake me up when the parade starts.
Oh, could you be Santa Claus? Have you had any experience?
A little.
Oh, please, you've got to help me out.
Well, I'm not in the habit of substituting for spurious Santa Clauses.
Oh, please.
No. Well, the children mustn't be disappointed. All right, I'll do it.
Oh, good. Thank you. Come right this way.
He's simply wonderful, Mrs. Walker. Just look at him on that float. The most realistic Santa Claus we've ever had. Why, he didn't even need any padding, did he?
Padding?
Why, didn't you notice his tummy? So round, so firm, so fully packed. Well, now that everything's under control, where on earth did you find him?
I don't know. I just turned around and there he was.
And to think that the man whose place he took was intoxicated.
With breath that would knock over a reindeer.
Just think if Mr. Macy had seen him.
What if Mr. Gimble had seen him? Competition between our stores is tough enough.
Well, the parade's starting. Let's stand at the curb.
Not I, Mr. Shellhammer. I'm going home to relax. Anyway, I can see it from there. I live just around the corner.
Oh, so you do. Well, I'll see you tomorrow, Mrs. Walker, and congratulations on finding the best Santa Claus in Macy's history.
Well, it certainly is a wonderful parade, Susan. I mean, just look at that clown. Gosh, what a giant!
Giant, Mr. Gailey? There are no such things as giants.
Well, not now maybe, but in olden days there were...
Really, Mr. Gailey? And you, a lawyer?
Well, what about the giant that Jack killed, huh? You know, Jack and the Beanstalk?
Everybody knows that's a fairy tale. And I agree with my mother. Fairy tales are silly.
Come in.
Good afternoon. I'm Susan's mother. My maid said.
Oh, hello, Mother. I'm watching the parade. Mr. Gailey invited me.
Hello, darling.
Well, Susie's told me quite a lot about you, Mrs. Walker.
She's told me quite a lot about you, too. The man in the front apartment.
Well, this is all part of a plot, Mrs. Walker. I'm very fond of Susie, but I also wanted to meet you.
At least you're frank.
There goes Santa Claus.
Oh, don't even mention the name.
Why not, Mother?
Well, that Santa Claus you see is a last-minute substitute.
But why?
Oh. Remember the way the janitor was last New Year's?
Oh, yes.
I see Susan doesn't believe in Santa Claus either.
That's right. She never has.
Well, that's the end of the parade. Mother, I've been thinking. It's Thanksgiving, there are only two of us. Couldn't we invite Mr. Gailey?
Well,
Oh, no, please don't bother. I'll have a sandwich or something.
But we have such a big turkey. Please, Mother, please.
Well, I...
Did I ask her all right, Mr. Gailey?
Yeah.
You asked fine, Susan. Dinner's at 3, Mr. Gailey.
Hello, Mrs. Walker.
Yes, Mr. Shellhammer.
Your maid said you were at Thanksgiving dinner, but I just had to tell you, your Santa Claus was stupendous.
Well, thank you.
Mr. Macy himself wants him to be our toy department Santa Claus.
Oh, fine. Can you hire him?
Oh, I already have. He's a born salesman. I just feel it.
Good. We'll talk about it in the morning. Thanks for calling, Mr. Shellhammer.
Gee, that sure is an elegant costume.
Yes, I've had it for years and years.
Yeah, sure makes a bum out of the one they gave you. Even the store sold is better than the one I wear.
You, Alfred?
Well, I play Santa Claus over at the Y near our block.
No kidding.
It started about 3 years ago. They had a costume, but it didn't have no padding, and since I carry my own padding around with me, I got the job, you see.
You enjoy impersonating me? Why?
I don't know. It's when I give packages to the little kids. I like to watch their faces get that Christmas look all of a sudden. It makes me feel kind of good and important.
There you are.
Good morning.
My, what a striking costume. Before you go up on the floor, I want to give you a few tips on how to be a good Santa Claus.
Go right ahead.
Here's a list of toys that we have to push. You know, things that we're overstocked on. Now, you'll find that a great many children will be undecided as to what they want for Christmas. When that happens, you suggest one of these items. You understand?
I certainly do.
Good. You memorize that list. When you've finished, come up to the 7th floor. I'll be waiting for you.
Imagine, Alfred, making a child take something he or she doesn't want just because he bought too many of the wrong toys. That's what I've been fighting against for years, the way they commercialize Christmas.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad isms floating around this world. One of the worst is commercialism. Make a buck, make a buck.
Where should I put this list, Alfred?
Oh, don't bother. I'll put it away for you.
Oh, thank you, Alfred.
Throw them on the floor. I get kind of tired of just sweeping up dust.
Well, thank you, Alfred.
Are you really Santa Claus?
Why, of course I am. What do you want for Christmas, little boy?
I want a fire engine with a real hose that squirts real wet water. And I won't do it in the house. I'll only do it in the backyard. I promise.
And I promise you'll get your fire engine.
Oh, you see, Mama? I told you he'd get me one.
Oh, that's fine. That's just dandy. You wait over there, Mortimer. Mama wants to thank Santa Claus, too.
Yes, madam?
Say, what's the matter with you?
No. What's the trouble?
I told you before, didn't I? The kid wants a fire engine, but there ain't one to be had anywhere in town. Macy's ain't got any.
No.
Gimbel's ain't got any.
No.
Nobody's got any. My feet are killing me, and you say, okay, he gets the fire engine?
But you can get those fire engines at Schoenfeld's on Lexington Avenue, only $4.50. A wonderful bargain.
Schoenfeld?
Yes.
I don't get it.
Oh, I follow the toy market very closely.
Macy's is sending people to other stores.
Yes.
Are you kidding?
No. The one important thing is to make the children happy. Whether Macy's or somebody else sells the toy doesn't matter. Don't you feel that way?
Who, me?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. Only I didn't know Macy's did. I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Who's next, please? Right this way to see Santa Claus. All right, little girl, you're next.
Santa,
May I have some roller skates?
Oh, of course, little girl. Do you want some roller skates? Well, you shall have them too.
Mama! Mama! He's going to bring me some roller skates!
Oh, and he has some very fine skates here at Macy's, haven't you, Santa Claus?
Oh, well, they're good skates, all right, but not really quite good enough. Now, I left some really wonderful roller skates at Gimbel's. I'm sure Gimbel's has just what this little girl wants. Very good.
Mr. Shellhammer? Are you Mr. Shellhammer?
Gimbel's. Gimbel's. That's just what he did say.
The
Gimbel's.
sales lady, she said I should speak to you.
Gimbel's.
I just wanted to congratulate you and Macy's on this wonderful new stunt you're pulling.
Gimbel's.
Imagine a big outfit like Macy's putting the spirit of Christmas ahead of the commercial.
Gimbel's.
From now on, I'm going to be a regular Macy's customer.
Mama, let's go.
All right, Mortimer, we're going.
Gimbel's. Gimbel's. Gimbel's.
And there's the toy department over there, Mr. Gailey.
Well, you certainly know all about Macy's store, don't you, Susan?
Well, that's because my mother works here. But I still think it's silly bringing me here to see Santa Claus.
Well, I just feel that when you've talked to him, you might,
Okay, Mr. Gailey. I'm certainly willing to try.
Well, well, what a fine young lady, eh? What's your name, little girl?
Susan Walker. What's yours?
Mine? Oh, Chris Kringle. I'm Santa Claus.
Hmm.
Oh, you don't believe that, eh?
You see, my mother's Mrs. Walker.
Oh.
But I must say, you're the best looking Santa Claus I've ever seen.
Really?
Your beard, for instance. It doesn't have one of those things that goes over your ears.
Well, that's because it's real, just like I'm really Santa Claus. Now, go ahead. Pull it.
Oh my goodness, it is real.
Yes, and now, what would you like me to bring you for Christmas?
Nothing, thank you. Whatever I want, my mother will get. If it's sensible and doesn't cost too much.
Oh.
That's quite right, Susan.
Oh, hello, Mother.
Hello, Mr. Gailey.
Hello. The explanation for all this is very simple, see? Your maid's mother sprained her ankle, so she had to go home. So she asked me to bring Susie down to you. And as long as we were here, I figured we might as well say hello to Santa Claus.
He has real whiskers, Mother.
Susan, would you mind standing over there a minute?
If you want me to.
I shouldn't have brought Susie to see Santa, is that it?
Now you're making me feel completely heartless.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Don't you see? I tell Susan that Santa Claus is a myth, and you show her a very convincing old man with real whiskers. Well, whom is she to believe?
Yeah, that's right, isn't it?
When Susan was a baby, her father and I were divorced. And ever since then, I've protected my child by teaching her realities. If you don't believe in fairy tales and fantasy, you can never be hurt or disillusioned.
We were talking about Susie, Mrs. Walker.
And I must ask you to let me raise her as I see fit. All right, dear, the store's going to close soon. We'll run along to my office.
Alfred said you wanted to see me, Mrs. Walker.
Yes. Come in. I'd be grateful if you'll please tell Susan that you're not really Santa Claus, that there actually is no such person.
But Mrs. Walker, not only is there such a person, but I'm here to prove it.
No. You misunderstand. I want you to tell her the truth. Now, what's your real name?
It's Chris Kringle, and I always tell the truth. Susan, I bet you're in first grade.
Second grade.
I mean your real name?
Well, that is my real name. My goodness, the second grade.
Very well. I have your employment card right here. I'll look it up on that.
That's a very cute dress you have on.
It's from Macy's. We get 10% off.
Oh.
So, you always tell the truth, do you?
Mm-hmm.
Look at your employment card.
Name, Chris Kringle. Address, Brooks Memorial Home, Great Neck, Long Island. You may call the home if you care to confirm that, Mrs. Walker. It's a home for elderly gentleman.
Would you also like me to confirm this?
And what's that?
Date of birth as old as my tongue and a little bit older than my teeth. Place of birth, North Pole. Now really.
Why, I believe you doubt me, Mrs. Walker.
And this tops everything.
Oh, that.
Next of kin. Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, and Vixen. I'm sorry to have to do this, Mr.
Pringle.
But the Santa Claus that we had 2 years ago is back in town, and I feel that we owe it to him to
Have I done something wrong?
No. It's just that we feel that. Oh, excuse me. Hello.
This is Mr. Shellhammer, Mrs. Walker. Drop whatever you're doing. Mr. Macy wants to see us immediately.
Oh, I'll be right up. I'm afraid I'll have to be very abrupt with you. I have to see Mr. Macy. You'll be paid for the full week, Mr. Kringle.
Yeah.
And I'll send your check to that address.
Oh, come right in, Mrs. Walker, Mr. Shellhammer.
Thank you, Mr. Macy.
Now, about this new policy you two initiated.
Yes.
Macy's Santa Claus sending customers to Gimbals.
But I can explain everything, Mr. Macy.
You don't have to explain a thing. Just look at my desk. 42 telegrams and over 500 phone calls. Grateful parents expressing undying gratitude to Macy's department store.
Why, you don't say.
And from now on, not only will our Santa Claus continue in this manner, but every salesperson in the entire store.
You mean that if we haven't got what the customer asks for, we're to
send him where he can get it. No high pressuring and forcing a customer to take something he doesn't really want.
Well, I think that's wonderful, Mr. Macy.
Why, it will be known as a helpful store, the friendly store, the store that places public service ahead of profits, and consequently will make more profits than ever. As for you, Mrs. Walker, Mr. Shellhammer, you'll find a more practical expression of my gratitude in your Christmas envelopes.
Oh.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, sir.
And tell that wonderful Santa Claus I won't forget him either. Matter of fact, I'll tell him myself in the morning.
Yes, indeed, Mr. Macy.
Good night. Good night.
Good night, Mr. Macy.
And thank you again, sir. Oh, imagine. A bonus.
Yes.
Well, what's the matter with you?
Mr. Shellhammer. I just fired him.
Who?
Santa Claus.
No, you couldn't
But
have.
I did. He's crazy, Mr. Shellhammer. He really thinks he is Santa Claus.
I don't care if he thinks he's the Easter Bunny. Find him.
Act 2 of Miracle on 34th Street will continue in a few moments, ladies and gentlemen.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Deck the halls with boughs of holly. Fa la 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 la. 'Tis the season to be jolly. Fa la 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 la. Don we now our gay apparel. Fa la 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 la. Troll the ancient Yuletide carol. Fa la 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 la. Let us all remember in our holiday merriment, with our family, friends, and loved ones, that this wondrous season is a time for charity. Pine Ridge Nurseries and Garden Center believes that at Christmas time and all year round, we should seek the best in others, give to those in need, and let our hearts be open now and always for those less fortunate. Pine Ridge Nurseries and Garden Center, located at 8062 County Road 2 on the north side, just west of Coburg. For all your holiday greenery needs, Pine Ridge Nurseries and Garden Center offers wonderful holiday decoration for your home or business. See the blazing Yule before us. La 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 la. Strike the harp and join the chorus. La 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 la. Follow me in merry measure. La 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 la. While I tell of Yuletide treasure. La 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 la
Have you given Santa your Christmas list?
Yes, indeed, Pat. And number 1 on my list is a feather duster.
A feather duster? Oh, what a coincidence, Anne-Marie. The next dinner theatre at the Coburg Best Western features a character who just loves to feather dust.
Really? Gee, that is a coincidence.
The Odd Couple opens at Coburg Best Western on January the 18th, and the character of Felix Under is a neat freak that cannot be beaten for feather dusting.
He sounds like he is quite the character.
He certainly is, Anne-Marie. Oh, poor Felix has a hard time when he finds he has to move in with Oscar Madison, a slob of the first degree.
Gee, Pat, it sounds like they really would be an odd couple.
Too true, Anne-Marie. It should prove to be an hilarious night out. To get your tickets, call 905-372-2015. And now, Act 2 of Miracle on 34th Street. It was a frantic few hours that Doris spent last night, rushing over to Brooks Memorial Home in Long Island and assuring Chris Kringle that Macy's wanted him back as Santa Claus. Now Chris is again presiding over the crowded toy department, while in her office, Doris and Mr. Shellhammer
Don't you understand, Mr. Shellhammer? That old man with the nice white whiskers insists that he is Santa Claus. Why, he's out of his mind. What if he should have a fit or something? Oh, no, I've got to tell Mr. Macy.
Yes, but maybe he's only a little crazy. Anyway, you can't be sure until he's examined. We'll send him to Mr. Sawyer.
Sawyer?
In personnel. He's paid to examine employees, isn't he? And now, by the way, what do you think of this?
What is it?
A full-page ad Macy's is running in tomorrow's newspapers.
Macy's is running it, but it's all about the other stores, Gimbel's and Saks.
I know. Mr. Macy's idea to help our customers find what they want. It's revolting, isn't it?
That Santa Claus certainly has started something. Oh, well, I'll get a hold of him at his lunch hour and send him up to Mr. Sawyer.
So I changed my clothes, Mr. Sawyer, and I came right up.
No, well, then that's your own beard, huh?
Oh, yes.
Interesting complex in back of that. Why do you carry a cane?
I always carry a cane, Mr. Sawyer. It's when I'm wearing street clothes. You see, I carved this cane out of a runner from one of my old sleighs.
What's that? What's that?
With a fine, solid silver top.
Who was the first president of the United States?
What? Give me a difficult one, like, who was the first vice president under James Monroe?
I'm conducting this examination.
The answer is Daniel D. Tompkins. Yes, you're a rather nervous person, aren't you, Mr. Sawyer? Tell me, do you get enough sleep?
My personal habits are no concern of yours. Now, what hand am I holding up?
Well, it's your right hand, of course.
And how many fingers do you see?
3. Oh, you bite your fingernails, I see.
Stand up now, feet together, arms extended.
Oh, the muscular coordination test. I've done this test a dozen times. Tell me, Mr. Sawyer, are you happy at home?
What? That'll be all. This examination is over.
Oh, well, thank you.
And it may interest you to know that I've been happily married for 22 years. Very happily married.
Delighted to hear it. Goodbye, Mr. Sawyer.
Miss Prong!
Yes, sir?
Get Mrs. Walker on the phone.
Yes, sir. But your wife, Mr. Sawyer, she's called 4 times already.
Well, you tell my wife to shut up and mind your own business.
Here's Mrs. Walker, sir.
Oh, all right. Hello?
Oh, I was just going to call you, Mr. Sawyer.
Oh?
There's a Dr. Pierce here.
Who's Dr. Pierce?
He's the physician at the Brooks home. I thought we might discuss Mr. Kringle's case with him.
Well, there's hardly any point in discussing it, Mrs. Walker. Obviously, the old man should be discharged. I'll come right down. It would be a good time to settle the matter.
Sorry, Doctor. That was Mr. Sawyer, the gentleman I was telling you about. He's just down the hall. I can't tell you how we appreciate your time.
Matter of fact, I was going to call you today. I had a feeling about now you'd be wondering about Chris.
Dr. Pierce, Mr. Sawyer.
How do you do?
After giving this man a comprehensive examination, it's my opinion that he should be dismissed immediately.
Really? He failed to pass the examination?
Yes.
He didn't answer correctly.
Yes, he did, but he lacked concentration and he kept changing the subject. He even questioned me. I don't think there's any doubt about it. He should be placed in a mental institution.
I don't agree. People are institutionalized to prevent them from harming themselves or others. Mr. Kringle is incapable of either. His is a delusion for good. He only wants to be friendly and helpful.
Well, that's what I feel too.
Thousands of people have similar delusions, living perfectly normal lives in every other respect. Famous example is that fellow, I can't remember his name, but for years he's insisted he's a Russian prince. There's been much evidence to prove him wrong, but nothing has shaken his story.
Is he in an institution?
No. He owns a famous restaurant in Hollywood and is a highly respected citizen.
I've made a great study of abnormal psychology, and I've found from experience when a delusion is challenged, the deluded is apt to become violent.
I'll have to disagree with you again. If you tell Chris there is no Santa Claus, I grant he'll argue the point, but he'll not become violent.
His whole manner suggests aggressiveness. Look how he carries that cane. He's never without it.
I know Chris always carries a cane, but surely you're not implying he'd use the cane as a weapon.
Mrs. Walker, naturally I can't discharge this man. That's up to you. But you asked my opinion, so when he exhibits his latent maniacal tendencies, which I assure you he will, please realize the responsibility is yours.
Now we're right back where we started.
Nothing's going to happen. Please don't feel that what I've said was prompted by affection. My specialty is geriatrics, treatment of the diseases of old age. I've had quite a bit of experience, and I assure you, Chris has no latent maniacal tendencies. You'll want to discuss this with Mr. Shellhammer, so I'll be on my way. May I see Chris?
Why, certainly, Doctor. You understand my position, Doctor? If there's the slightest possibility of him becoming violent or getting into trouble, well, all that's got to happen is a policeman to ask his name, a big argument, clang, clang. Bellevue.
You can prevent that very simply. If he could stay with an employee, they could ride to and from work together. I'd prefer he didn't take the train to Great Neck twice a day.
That would solve everything. Sort of take custody of him. Do you think he'd agree to that?
I'll talk to him. I'm sure he will.
In that case, he can stay.
Good. Thank you.
I'm sure you've made a wise decision. Now let's see who could rent him a room.
Well, you. Your son's away at school. What about his room?
Well, I don't mind. I'd be glad to, but I'm positive Mrs. Shellhammer wouldn't like it. She's a little... Say, I have an idea. We always have martinis before dinner. I'll make them double strength tonight. I'll bet after a couple of them, she'll be more receptive.
But Chris is through work soon. What about the in-between time?
Take him home to dinner. I'll call as soon as my wife's feeling giddy.
Oh, no.
If I'm willing to let my wife have a big headache in the morning, you can have a little headache tonight.
All right.
Susan, what sort of games do you play with other children?
I don't play much with them. They play silly games.
They do?
Like today. They were in the basement playing zoo, and all of them were animals. When I came down, Homer, he was the zookeeper, he said, "What animal are you?" I said, "I'm not an animal, I'm a girl." And he said, "Only animals allowed." So I came upstairs.
Why didn't you tell him you were a lion or a bear?
Because I'm not a bear or a lion.
But the other children were only children, and they were pretending to be animals.
That's what makes the game so silly.
Oh, I don't think so. Sounds like a wonderful game to me. Of course, in order to play it, you need an imagination. Do you know what the imagination is?
Oh, sure. That's when you see things, but you're not really there.
That can be caused by other things, too. No, to me, the imagination is a place all to itself, a separate country. You've heard of the French or the British nation? Well, this is the imagination. It's a wonderful place. How would you like to make snowballs in the summertime, or drive a big bus down Fifth Avenue? How would you like to have a ship all to yourself that makes daily trips to China or Australia? How would you like to be the Statue of Liberty in the morning and in the afternoon fly south with a flock of geese? It's very simple. Of course, it takes practice. The first thing you've got to learn is how to pretend. And then the next time Homer says, "What kind of animal are you?" you tell him you're a monkey.
I don't know how to be a monkey.
Oh, sure you do. Here, I'll show you. Are you ready? Now watch. Now, you just bend your body over like this. That's it. Let your arms hang free. Put your right hand up here like this. No, that's your left. Your right. There you go. Now, scratch yourself. See? Scratch, scratch, scratch. That's right. Put your tongue under your lips, over your teeth.
Like this?
That's right, just like that. Now scratch yourself and chatter. Chatter. Perfect. Very good.
Hayslip, Sherman, Mackenzie, and Hayslip have been very kind to me, but being an exceptional lawyer, I want to open my own office.
Put this in Susan's place for me, please.
Well, take the meat out. It should be done.
Don't forget to scratch. Put your tongue up in front of your teeth and talk to the other monkeys.
What's going on here?
Oh, we're having our first lesson in pretending. Doing quite well at it, too. That's right. Call the other monkeys. Good girl.
Mr. Kringle?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker just happened to mention that they're looking for a room for you.
That's right. Dr. Pierce doesn't want me to making the long daily trip.
Right. I was just thinking. I'm all alone in my apartment. Twin beds, plenty of room. If you'd like to move in with me, I'd be only too happy to have you.
Oh, that's awfully nice of you.
You could ride to and from work with Mrs. Walker.
Yes. That would give me a chance to really talk things over with her. And besides, I could see Susan now and then. Mr. Gailey, it's a deal.
Oh, good. We'll get your things after dinner. Hello? Oh, yes, just a moment. It's Mr. Shellhammer?
Oh, thanks. Hello, Mr. Shellhammer.
Yes, just a moment. Mrs. Shellhammer wants to talk to you. I made the martinis triple strength, and she feels wonderful. Here, my pet.
Hello?
No, dear. This way.
Hello?
No, dear. There you go.
Thank you, darling. Hello? We'd love to have Santa Claus come and stay with us. I think it would be simply charming.
Oh, and so do I, Mrs. Shellhammer. Just a moment. It's Mrs. Shellhammer. They have the loveliest room. They'd be so happy if you'd stay with them.
Well, that's very sweet of them. Please thank them very much. But I'm going to stay with Mr. Gailey.
Mr. Gailey?
I think I better go get the meat.
I'm coming to say goodnight, Susan. Now, look here, about Christmas. There must be something you'd like.
Well, I certainly thought about something, Mr. Kringle.
You have? Well, what is it, eh? You can tell me.
Well, it's right here on the night table, see?
Oh?
I tore this page out of a magazine. It's a picture of a house.
Oh, so that's what you want, is it? A dollhouse. Colonial architecture.
Oh, not a doll's house. A real house.
A real house?
Yes. And if you're really Santa Claus, you can get it for me.
Oh, now, wait a minute, Susie. What could you possibly do with a big house?
Live in it with my mother. In a backyard with a big tree to put a swing on, and a garden and a... Oh, well, we'll even discuss it.
Susie, could I keep this picture? Just in case.
I guess so.
Well, thank you, dear, thank you. Well, Mr. Gailey's waiting for me. Good night, monkey.
Good night, Mr. Kringle.
Take whichever bed you want, Mr. Kringle.
You know, you're very kind. Tell me, Mr. Gailey, what is it you do for a living?
Oh, I'm a lawyer. Hayslip, Sherman, Mackenzie, and Hayslip.
Oh, and you like living here in the city?
Well, it's convenient. But someday I'd like to get a place on Long Island.
Huh.
Not a big house, just one of those junior partner deals around Manhasset.
Oh, one of those little colonial houses, eh?
Yeah, a little colonial house would be swell.
Good. Yeah. Now, you're quite fond of Mrs. Walker, aren't you?
A lot of good it does me. She lives in a cast iron shell that's just a little difficult to get through.
Oh, well, you must try a little harder, Mr. Gailey. You know, Mrs. Walker and that child are a couple of lost souls, and it's up to us to help them.
Oh?
Yes, you see, shall I turn out the light?
No.
No?
I'm not going to be cheated out of this. You know, all my life I've wondered about it, and now I'm going to find out. Tell me.
Mm-hmm.
Does Santa Claus sleep with his whiskers outside or inside the covers?
Oh, outside, of course. Outside, by all means. The cold air makes them grow.
Oh, thank you very much.
Oh, come in, Mrs. Walker. Come in.
Thank you, Mr. Macy. I've just heard something very exciting.
You have? Well, let me tell you something very exciting. Our policy of being kind to customers has tripled our sales. Now, what do you think of that?
That's wonderful, Mr. Macy. And Gimbals thinks it's wonderful, too.
Gimbals?
Gimbals are adopting the same policy.
Well, is that so?
And it gives me an idea. As long as Gimbals are doing the same thing, why not some pictures for the newspapers?
Pictures?
Yes. You and Mr. Gimbal. Shaking hands.
Shaking hands? R.H. Macy and Gimbal?
Well, yes.
Yes, why not? With Santa Claus. It's a great idea, Mrs. Walker. Macy and Gimbal shaking hands.
If you could get together, just together.
That's enough pictures, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Well, Mr. Gimbal.
Come on, R.H. Now we'll go over to my store and get some really good pictures.
Just a minute. I have something here for Santa Claus. Here you are, Mr. Kringle. A check in appreciation of all you've done.
Mr. Macy, why, that's most kind of you.
Oh, I didn't think you were that generous, R.H. That's quite a check. What are you going to do with it, Mr. Kringle?
Well, I have a friend, Dr. Pierce. He needs a new x-ray machine.
Buy the machine through Macy's. 10% discount.
I can get it at cost.
Oh, keep it up, gentlemen, keep it up. At this rate, my friend will have a whole new hospital.
How did the pictures turn out, Mr. Kringle?
Oh, fine, Alfred, fine. How about a game of checkers during lunch, eh?
Not today, Chris. I don't feel so good.
Oh, what's the matter, Alfred?
Oh, nothing much. You remember how I was telling you how I like to play Santa Claus over at the Y and give out packages to the kids?
Yes?
Well, I was telling Mr. Sawyer about it, and he says it's very bad. That psychologically it's all wrong.
Wrong? To be nice to children?
Well, he says guys who play Santa Claus do it because when they was young, they must have done something bad, and now they do something they think is good to make up for it, see? It's what he calls a guilt complex.
Alfred, what else has he found wrong with you?
Oh, nothing much. Just that I hate my father. I didn't know it, but he says I do.
Excuse me.
Hey, ain't you gonna have lunch?
Later. Right now, I have an appointment with Mr. Sawyer.
What do you mean, breaking into my office like this?
Are you a licensed psychiatrist?
What business is that of yours?
I have great respect for psychiatry and a great contempt for meddling amateurs who go around practicing it.
No, shut up.
You ought to be horsewhipped. Taking a boy like Alfred and filling him up with complexes and phobias.
I think I'm better equipped to judge that than you.
Just because Alfred wants to be kind to children, you tell him he has a guilt complex.
Well, having the same delusion you couldn't possibly understand.
Oh.
And don't you wave that cane at me.
Either you stop analyzing Alfred, or I'll go straight to Mr. Macy and tell him what a contemptible fraud you are.
No, get out of here. Get out of here before I have you thrown out.
There's only one way to handle a man like you. Maybe this'll knock some sense into you.
Oh, help, oh, my head, oh, my
Good day,
head.
Mr. Sawyer.
Oh, Miss Brown, get me the police, get me Miss Walker, get me the psychopathic one up out of the hospital. I tell you, we were merely talking, but when I mentioned Santa Claus and attacked his delusion, he became violent. I told you he had latent maniacal tendencies. Well, I think this proves it. Well, you better have the examination right away before he tells before Mr. Macy finds out. If he sees me or you mention psychiatrist, it's more or less attacking his delusion again. Or he's apt to become violent. We'll get him out of the store on some other pretext, and once outside, I'll explain it to him.
Where to?
Bellevue.
What are you... Bellevue? Did she know about this?
Yes, we all discussed it.
You can see Mr. Kringle now, Mr. Gailey.
Well, thank you, nurse. Hello, Chris.
Hello, Fred.
Chris, I've been speaking to the doctors. They said they've given you some tests.
Oh, yes, the same old tests.
Well, except this time you failed to pass them. Chris, you deliberately failed. Why?
Why? Well, because I had great hopes, Fred. I had a feeling Mrs. Walker was beginning to believe in me, and now, well, now I discover she was only humoring me all the time.
Oh, but this wasn't Doris's idea at all. Mr. Sawyer had you sent up here before she even knew about it.
But why? Why didn't she come in to me and explain things?
Well, because she didn't want to hurt you.
Oh, well, it's not just Mrs. Walker. It's, well... Now, take Mr. Sawyer. He's a contemptible, dishonest, deceitful, and yet he's out there and I'm in here. Well, if that's normal, I don't want it.
Oh, but you can't just think of yourself, Chris. What happens to you matters to a lot of other people. People like me who believe in what you stand for. And people like, well, like Susie, who are just beginning to. Chris, you're letting us down.
Well, Fred, maybe you're right. Of course you're right. I ought to be ashamed of myself. Let's get out of here.
Well, now, wait a minute. You flunked your mental examination, but good.
Oh, yes, well, so I did. Well, anyway, you're a letter. You're a lawyer. You fix it.
Well, hey, now look, I can't just...
No, I won't let you down, and you won't let me down.
Chris, now take it easy. Look, there'll have to be a hearing. If you're going to be committed, it has to be before a judge.
Well?
Well, if I can do anything at all, it'll have to be in a courtroom. Now sit tight, Chris. I'll get an idea. I have to get an idea.
You sent for me, Mr. Macy?
I certainly did, Mr. Sawyer. I brought my family to the toy department to see our Santa Claus. And our Santa Claus isn't there. He's in Bellevue.
Yes, Mr. Macy.
Because he's a lunatic?
Yes, sir, a lunatic.
Lunatic, my foot. Now you listen to me, Sawyer. You get that case dropped right away, or you'll have another lump to match the one he gave you.
But it's out of my hands. Mr. Kringle goes to court in the morning.
Well, just see that he's back in the toy department by afternoon. Now, get out of here.
Mr. Gailey.
Yes?
I've been looking all over for you. I'm Mr. Sawyer.
Oh, So you're Sawyer.
Yes, I was just speaking to the court clerk, and he said you represent Mr. Kringle. Well, I represent Mr. Macy.
Huh. Then I'll see you in court.
Oh no, that's what I wanted to speak to you about. Now, Mr. Macy would like to drop the whole case right now. You see, we're most anxious to avoid any publicity.
No publicity, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's very interesting.
Oh, then you'll cooperate?
You know something, Sawyer? You've just given me the idea I've been searching for.
Oh, good, good.
If I'm going to win this case, I'm going to have public opinion and plenty of it. And publicity's just the way to do it. Thanks. Oh, and, so long, Mr. Sawyer.
But Mr. Gailey!
Look at these newspapers, Chris. Here, Evening Dispatch. Doctors doubt sanity of Santa who launched Goodwill campaign.
Oh, my.
Daily Bulletin. Macy's Santa Claus to have lunacy hearing.
And what's this one?
The New York Express.
Is Kris Kringle crazy? Court case coming. Kitties cry, calamity.
You've driven the United Nations clear back to page 5. We'll get a good night's sleep, Chris. We go before Judge Harper at 10 tomorrow morning.
We pause now for station identification. Northumberland 89.7 FM. Truly local radio. Please feel free to enjoy a beverage or snack in our festive lounge.
Bum, 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 you say Leclerc.
We say Leclerc, however you pronounce it, we don't care.
Where you
Never
get a
bum, 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 bum,
Leclerc's Butcher Shop for all of your holiday entertaining needs. Don't forget to order your Christmas turkey soon from Leclerc's Butcher Shop, 365 Westwood Drive in Coburg.
Our stars will return with Act 3 of Miracle on 34th Street in a moment. But first, Anne-Marie, do you love song and dance numbers?
Why, yes, Pat, I sure do.
Well, you're not going to want to miss the Northumberland Players winter production of The Drowsy Chaperone.
Why is that, Pat?
Well, Anne-Marie, The Drowsy Chaperone is a loving send-up of a jazz-age musical featuring one show-stopping song and dance number after another.
Wait a second, Pat. Didn't this original Canadian musical go on to win 5 Tony Awards, including Best Book and Best Original Score?
It sure did, Anne-Marie.
Well, how exciting, Pat. What's The Drowsy Chaperone about?
Well, Anne-Marie, when the house lights go down at the Cameco Capital Arts Centre this coming February, a man in a chair appears on stage and puts on his favourite record, the cast recording of a fictitious 1928 musical. The recording comes to life and the drowsy chaperone begins as the man in the chair looks on. Mix in 2 lovers on the eve of their wedding. A bumbling best man. A desperate theatre producer. A not-so-bright hostess. 2 gangsters posing as pastry chefs. A misguided Don Juan and a toxicated chaperone. A live full orchestra and you have the ingredients for an evening of madcap musical delights. Performances in the period atmospheric theatre at the Cameco Capital Arts Centre, Port Hope. Call 905-885-1071 for your tickets to this award-winning musical. And now, the curtain rises on the 3rd act of Miracle of 34th Street. For a few weeks, a jolly elderly gentleman named Kris Kringle has been working minor miracles as Macy's Santa Claus, Now his sanity has been seriously questioned, and in a crowded courtroom, Judge Harper listens patiently as the Assistant District Attorney summons Chris to the witness stand.
Now, this is not a trial, Mr. Kringle. It's just a hearing, so you don't have to answer any questions. Now then, where do you live, please?
Well, it seems to me that's what this hearing will decide, won't it?
Mr. Kringle, do you believe that you are Santa Claus?
Of course I do.
That's all, Your Honor. The state rests its case.
Well, Mr. Gailey?
Your Honor, Mr. Marr contends my client is not sane because he believes he is Santa Claus.
An entirely logical conclusion. Anyone who thinks he's Santa Claus is crazy.
Your Honor, you believe yourself to be Judge Harper, yet no one questions your sanity because you are Judge Harper, do they?
Mr. Kringle is the subject of this Senate hearing, not I.
Well, Your Honor, I intend to prove that Mr. Kringle is Santa Claus.
Mr. Mara, I thought you said this was a cut-and-dried sanity hearing.
Well, I thought it was, Your Honor.
In view of Mr. Gailey's statement, I'll have to review the entire background of this case. Court's adjourned till tomorrow morning.
Oh, hello, Doris. I'm sorry I'm late, but get ready. We're really going to celebrate tonight.
Well, what are we celebrating?
Oh, didn't you read the papers? Santa's mouthpiece throws bombshell in New York Supreme Court.
Oh, Fred, you're not really serious about this. You can't possibly prove that Kris Kringle is Santa Claus.
Well, you saw Mr. Macy and Mr. Gimble shake hands. That wasn't possible either.
Oh, what does your firm have to say about it? Hayslip and Mackenzie and the rest of them.
That I've jeopardized their prestige, and either I drop this impossible case or they'll drop me.
You see?
So I beat them to it. I quit.
Fred, you threw away a career because of a sentimental whim?
Well, I'll open my own office.
And what kind of clients will you get?
Well, probably a lot of people like Chris who are being pushed around. That's the only fun in law anyway. Doris, look. Don't you have any faith in me at all?
Oh, it's not a question of faith. It's just common sense.
Oh, but faith is believing in things when common sense tells you not to. It's not just Chris that's on trial. It's everything he stands for. Human kindness and love and dignity.
Oh, Fred. Listen. We've seen a lot of each other in the last couple of weeks. Well, I've become fond of you. We've talked about some wonderful plans, haven't we? And then you do this. Go on an idealistic binge, throw away your security, and expect me to be happy about it.
And I expect too much, is that it? Well, that's that, I guess. Good night, Doris.
Hello? Yes, this is Mr. Mara. Well, can't it wait till tomorrow? I'm eating who's been subpoenaed? Well, how do you think I feel about it? I'll see you tomorrow.
Who's that, dear?
R.H. Macy's been subpoenaed.
Oh, my.
Those reporters, they make me look like a sadistic monster who likes nothing better than to drown pussycats and tear wings off butterflies.
Quiet, dear. Tommy's still awake.
Oh yeah.
It'd just break his heart if he knew what his daddy'd been doing.
I'm doing my job as Assistant District Attorney.
Well, I'm not so sure but that I agree with them. Mr. Kringle looks like a very nice old man, and I don't see why you have to keep persecuting him.
I'm not persecuting him, I'm prosecuting him. I like the old man too, but there's nothing I can do about it.
You know something, Thomas? Sometimes I wish I'd married a butcher or a plumber.
Well, if I lose this case, it's very possible you'll get your wish. R.H. Macy. I wonder what he's gonna pull tomorrow.
Proceed with the witness, Mr. Gailey.
Now then, Mr. Macy. If you recognize the defendant, please tell us who he is.
Why, Kris Kringle, of course.
And do you believe him to be of sound mind?
Sound mind? I wish I had a dozen like him.
Mr. Macy, you are under oath. Do you believe that man is Santa Claus?
Well, now, that's a rather difficult,
Extra! Read all about it. Macy admits his Santa Claus is fraud.
Mr. Macy, is that man Santa Claus?
Yes, in my opinion, he most certainly is.
Your Honor, there is no such person as Santa Claus, and everybody knows it.
Well, can you prove there isn't any?
I won't even try. I'll not waste the court's time with such childish nonsense. Your Honor, the prosecution requests an immediate ruling from this court. Is there, or is there not, a Santa Claus?
Well, now, the court will take a short recess to consider the question.
Hello, Henry.
Why, Charlie, what are you doing here?
Can an old friend visit you in your chambers? And if you ask me, you never needed a friend like you do right now.
This Kringle case? Oh, I certainly don't see what they're making such a fuss about.
Henry, that's Santa Claus you got on trial in there, on trial for lunacy. This case is dynamite, and you're coming up for re-election soon.
Charlie, do you know what happened last night? Martha brought the grandchildren over. They wouldn't kiss Grandpa. They wouldn't even talk to me.
You see what I mean? If you rule that there's no Santa Claus, you better start looking for that chicken farm right now.
I'm a responsible judge. How can I seriously rule that there is a Santa Claus?
Why don't you... All right. You tell him that the New York State Supreme Court rules that there's no Santa Claus. It's all over the papers. The children don't hang up their stockings. Now what happens to the toys that are supposed to be in those stockings? Nobody buys them. The toy manufacturers are gonna like that. So they gotta lay off a lot of their employees. Union employees. And now you got the CIO and the AFL against you. And they're gonna adore you for it. Oh, and they're gonna say it with votes. And the department stores and the candy companies and the card makers. Oh, you're gonna be a very popular fellow, Henry. And what about the Salvation Army? Well, they got a Santa Claus on every corner and they take in a fortune. But all right, you do it your way. You go in there and you tell them that you rule that there's no Santa Claus. But if you do, remember this. You can count on getting just 2 votes. Your own and that district attorney's in there.
1 vote, Charlie. District attorney's a Republican. Oh, well, let's get this over with. The question of Santa Claus seems to be largely a matter of opinion. The tradition of American justice demands a broad and unprejudiced view of such a controversial matter.
But, Your Honor...
This court, and therefore, intends to keep its mind open. We shall ask for evidence on either side.
But the burden of proof clearly rests with my opponent. Can he produce any evidence to support his views?
Oh, if Your Honor, please, I can. Will Thomas Mara please take the stand?
Who, me?
Oh, no, Thomas Mara, Jr. I believe he and his mother are both in court today.
Hi, Daddy.
Hi.
Tommy, do you believe in Santa Claus?
I sure do. Gosh, he gave me a brand new sled last year.
Uh-huh. Now, what does Santa Claus look like, Tommy?
There he is, sitting right over there.
Your Honor, I protest.
Overruled.
Tell me, Tommy, why are you so sure there's a Santa Claus?
Because my daddy told me so. Didn't you, Daddy?
Thank you, Tommy. You can go back to your mother now.
See you later, Daddy.
You certainly will. Your Honor!
Don't forget, Santa Claus. This year, I want a football helmet.
Don't worry, Tommy. You'll get it.
Mr. Kringle, if you don't mind.
I'm sorry, sir.
Your Honor, The state of New York concedes the existence of a Santa Claus. But, in so conceding, we demand that Mr. Gailey stop presenting and representing personal opinion as evidence. I insist he submit authority to prove that Mr. Kringle here is the one and only Santa Claus.
Well, Mr. Gailey, are you prepared to show that Mr. Kringle is Santa Claus on the basis of unprejudiced authority?
Well, sir, no, not now. I need a little more time.
Why not now?
Tomorrow, Your Honor?
Very well. Court's adjourned till tomorrow morning. Whew. Oh, brother.
Now come, Susan, dear, finish your supper.
But I can't, Mother. All those things are saying in the newspapers about Mr. Kringle and Mr. Gailey.
They're having this trial because he says he's Santa Claus.
He's so kind and nice and jolly. He's not like anyone else you know. He must be Santa.
You know something? I think perhaps you're right.
Is Mr. Kringle sad now, Mother?
I'm afraid he must be.
Then I'll write him a letter. Maybe that will make him feel better. I'll cheer him up.
Oh, hello? Hello?
Yeah, lady.
Would you mind taking this letter?
Sure, lady. We're going straight down to the post office now. Okay, Louie, take her away. What do you know, Louie? Another letter for Santa Claus. Hey, here's a new one. Instead of the North Pole, this kid's got it addressed to Chris Kringle, New York County Courthouse.
Yeah, well, the kid's right.
Huh? Yeah, sure. They got him on trial down there. He claims he's Santa Claus. The DA claims he's nuts. Hey. I got an idea.
Yeah?
How many Santa Claus letters we got down there in that dead letter office?
Oh, who knows? There must be 50,000. Bags and bags all over the joint. Hey, you mean...
Louie, why not? Wouldn't it be nice to get rid of them all? Wouldn't it? Boy, oh boy. Look, Louie, soon as we get down to the post office, we go see that supervisor. Know something? We're gonna get promoted.
And since the defense has been unable to submit one shred of proof that Kris Kringle is the one and only Santa Claus, and since tonight is Christmas Eve, I ask Your Honor that this hearing be terminated without further delay.
Well, I protest. I do have evidence.
5 minutes ago, you said you didn't.
Well, during Mr. Marr's oration, the bailiff handed my client the evidence I refer to.
What evidence?
Well, it's this letter, Your Honor.
Oh, yes, Mr. Kringle?
It's from Susan Walker. She believes in me. Oh, this letter means more to me than anything in the world.
That letter, Your Honor, was delivered by the United States Post Office, an official agency of the federal government. The Post Office Department is one of the largest business concerns in the world. Last year did a gross volume of over $1 billion. And this
Your Honor, I'm sure we're all gratified that the Post Office is getting along so well. But what bearing has it on the sanity of that man?
My point is that the Post Office Department is a model of efficiency. Furthermore, the laws of this country make it a criminal offense to willfully misdirect mail or intentionally deliver it to the wrong party.
The state of New York is second to none in its admiration of the Post Office Department. We're very happy to concede Mr. Gailey's...
For the record, Mr. Marra?
For the record. Anything to get on with this case.
Thank you. Your Honor, that letter just received by Mr. Kringle is positive proof that a competent...
One letter is hardly positive proof.
Oh, I have further exhibits, Your Honor, but I hesitate to produce them.
Come, Mr. Gailey, put them here on my desk.
Oh, but, Your Honor...
I said put them on my desk.
All right, boys. Bring them in.
Your Honor, what What is this?
Empty those mail sacks on Judge Harper's desk.
Well, but,
Bring them all in or be fined for contempt of court.
Now, just a second here.
Oh, we'll do it, Your Honor. Through rain, through sleet, through courtrooms, anything. We deliver.
Mr. Gailey.
Your Honor, every one of those letters and every one of those mail sacks is addressed to Santa Claus. The post office delivered them. Therefore, the post office department recognizes Kris Kringle to be the one and only Santa Claus.
Since the United States government declares man to be Santa Claus, the court will not dispute it. Case dismissed.
Yay!
And for heaven's sakes, get this mail out of my courtroom.
So as soon as I got out of court, I came straight to Macy's to see you, Doris.
Oh, Chris, I'm so glad you won.
Well, we're having a big Christmas party at the Brooks home tomorrow morning. I would like so much to see you and Susan there.
We'll be there, Chris. Oh, Chris, couldn't you come home now and have dinner with us?
Now? Tonight? Me? My goodness, Doris, it's Christmas Eve.
Oh.
Alfred, look. Look who came all the way out here to the home just for our Christmas party.
Oh, Chris, it's Mr. Macy.
Mr. Gimble, too. Oh, excuse me, Alfred. Mrs. Walker and Susan have to leave now, and I want to see them before they go. So forgive me, will you?
But, Susie, darling, you got so many presents.
Not the one I wanted. Not the one Mr. Kringle was gonna get for me.
Well, what was it?
It doesn't matter. I knew I wouldn't get it, but I thought he'd at least tell me why.
Susie, I'm sorry, Susie. I tried my best, but...
You couldn't get it because you're not Santa Claus.
Susan!
Just a nice old man like my mother said.
But I was wrong when I told you that. You must believe in Mr. Kringle and keep right on doing it. You must have faith in him.
But that doesn't make sense, Mother.
Faith is believing in things when common sense tells you not to.
What?
I mean, just because things don't turn out the way you want them to the first time, you've still got to believe in people. I found that out.
Hello, Doris.
Fred! Mr. Gailey, Mr. Gailey!
Merry Christmas, Susie.
Gosh, you just get here and we're ready to leave.
Oh, I've been here.
Oh.
And if you're ready to leave, I'll drive you home.
Before you go, here's a map I've made for you. You'll miss a lot of traffic. About 4 miles south, you'll see Ashley Avenue. Now, that's the street you want, Ashley Avenue.
Thanks, Chris. And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you too, Fred, and to you, my dear. And Merry Christmas to you, Susan.
I believe Mr. Kringle, I do. It's still I suppose, but I do. I believe Mr. Kringle, I do.
I don't understand it, Fred.
I believe Mr. Kringle.
The map Chris gave definitely says Ashley Avenue. We've been on Ashley Avenue now for
Stop the car! Oh, stop the car, please!
Susie, what is it, darling? What's the matter?
There it is, the house, the house!
Susie?
What in the world?
Well, she's running into that house.
Oh, well, at least there's no one home. It's brand new, just been built.
Yeah, for sale, it says. For sale.
What on earth is that child up to?
Susie, hey, Susie.
Here I am upstairs.
Now come right down. You know you shouldn't run around in other people's houses. That's strange.
Oh, I'll say.
No, I mean this house. I've seen this house somewhere before. I know I have. Maybe in a magazine or...
Mother, it's our house. It's the one I asked him for. Mr. Kringle.
Mr. Kringle?
I know it is. Oh, you were right, Mommy. You were right.
Susie?
Mommy told me if things didn't turn out the way you wanted them at first, you still gotta believe. And I kept believing. And you were right, Mommy. Mr. Kringle is Santa Claus.
Now where are you going?
And back to see if there's a swing. Oh, there is one.
You told her that? About believing?
Well, you told me, Fred.
The sign outside, for sale, huh? Well, we can't let her down, can we?
I never really doubted you. It was just my silly common sense.
Even makes sense to believe in me now. I must be a pretty good lawyer. I take a little old man and legally prove to the world that he's Santa Claus. Now, you know, that couldn't have been
Fred!
too easy. What is it? What's wrong?
There, in the corner, by the fireplace.
Oh, no. No.
It can't be it. It couldn't.
Well, it's a cane. Chris's cane. There couldn't be two canes like this anywhere in the world.
Silver handle and all.
Hey, you know something? Maybe I didn't accomplish such a wonderful thing after all.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Pat Crimmins. On behalf of Anne-Marie Boutiette and myself, I would like to extend our thanks to you for listening to our presentation of Miracle on 34th Street here at Small Town Radio. Please help me in thanking our incredible cast: Matt Blundell, Kate Ellis, Jim Finan, Matt Kowalik, Garrett Lee, Don Mann, Stacey Tost and Maddie Tost, and please give a big round of applause to Oliver Graff, our amazing Foley artist. Before we meet again in this theatre, the most joyful day of the year will have come and gone. There are in our time, as in every time, a few foolish people who deride the spirit of Christmas. But in every country and in every time, they are overwhelmed by those who find in it hope and happiness of the future, by those of us who believe in our hearts that there can be peace on this earth and goodwill amongst all people. On behalf of Tug's Furniture Gallery, Leclerc's Butcher Shop, Pine Ridge Nurseries and Garden Centre, and of us in the Fire Hall Theatre, may I wish all of you the happiest of holidays. This is Small Town Radio Theatre. Good night and Merry Christmas.
We hope you have enjoyed listening to Miracle on 34th Street, presented by Northumberland 89.7, produced by the Northumberland Players. I'm your host, Victor Svenningsson, and I also got to record and mix this production. Take care. Merry Christmas.